But most importantly, I'd like to thank Jill for sharing with us some of her experiences. As I said in the introduction, huge amount of experience that we can draw on, and a lot of very practical tips that we can go back and use when we are linking it to prospecting, to developing relationships. Those relationship, guys, a reminder, are critical, and I think Jill's really highlighted that exceptionally well. Thank you very much. Guys, we are now moving to our last speaker for the day, for our morning, and that is Brendon Saunders. And Brendon is an action coach. An action coach is for business coaching, and I'm proud to say that Brendon has been my action coach for the last while, and I have found a lot of practical experiences that he's brought to the table have helped me see things more from a business perspective than just being an independent person trying to fulfill a function. Brendon has 17 years experience of running a Suzuki franchise or owning the franchise, as well as in that time being the after-sales service winner for 8 years of those 17 years. So definitely a lot of practical experience. And I think one of my biggest issues with coaches, and particularly business coaches, is somebody does a course and they think they're a business coach, but they don't have the practical experience of the challenges that you face and how to deal with them. Brendon also ran a sales and marketing consultancy, so he's got the broad understanding of the various different components that a business has. Brendon's really going to summarize the day for us and look at it from a perspective of saying, what do you want in your business and how are you going to achieve it? What are you going to get out? How are you going to make sure you get out what you want from your business? One thing I need to clarify just from what Jill was saying about putting your full name when you're on Zoom or on a virtual meeting. I'm not Sandra Claassen, I'm Carolyn Williams. And Brendon is not Gillian Cabe, but Brendon Saunders. So over to Brendon.
Thanks for that. There we go. So let me change my name to Brendon Saunders. There we go. Yeah, I can be Brendon Saunders now, and let's head back. So thank you, ladies. I think today has been very informative. There's been a lot of learnings that I've got from you guys, and there's a lot of things that I'm going to reiterate in what I do. So I'm going to ask that you type any comments, queries, any feedback that I might ask for into the chat box, and I'm going to ask Catherine to monitor them for me so we can get everybody's feedback as we go along. So I also invite you to have a pen, piece of paper ready to write down your answers to some of the questions that I'm going to ask. And through our time here today, I think there's going to be some valuable takeouts. And at the back end, I'm going to ask you to make a decision. So I need to ask you, what is the big question? So when we type your answers into the chat box and I start going through some of the answers, let's think about practically how many big decisions have you had to make that have had a massive impact on your life? Okay, we can just start putting one or two there. I see there's one or two coming through as private, so I'll read them as well. So in that, how many decisions have you tried to avoid making, and you have let someone else make that decision for you and had to live with those consequences? How many times in that scenario has the outcome been actually what you wanted or what you hoped for? You know, if you don't have an active input into what you're doing, how are you going to get what you want out of life? So in life and business, are you ready for the real question? So what do you want? Let's have a look at planning and look at setting goals, which many people, many of my clients, when I start with them, they come in and say, well, I don't really know how to effectively set goals. Quick and easiest way to do that is to start with the end in mind. And let's think of it this way. As a business owner, CEO, director, sales manager, maybe even a salesperson, what do you want? What is your driving force? And what do you want to do? If it's just to pay bills, then there is zero joy in what you do, my suggestion to you is to pack it all in and let's go in and start something that you enjoy. If you spend the vast majority of our awake life, and for some people, maybe your awake life is a very loose term, at work, and we hate our job, why would you put yourself through that? So let's unpack the fun scenario. The fun one where we love what we do, but we have been living on a dis-ease called hopium for the past decade. You know, the one where we hope sales are going to come in, we hope our staff are going to stay, and I don't need to spend money on our staff, thinking of Richard Branson, you know, spending time and money on your staff, make them better than what they are, treat them right so that they stay, you know, that whole adage. We hope we have enough money for retirement, etc. You know, all these things that we live on hopium with. So we hope we have enough money for retirement is one of the scariest things that we can actually do to ourselves, because what's going to happen when we live to 100? The likelihood of us living to 100 these days is a lot greater. So we utilize industry professionals like the ladies that we've been talking about today, and we show remarkable improvement in what they do for us. And now what? How do we tie what we have learned here today into our business and make a manageable, consistent, and impactful change to the business? Okay, so that's what you're thinking. Okay, so that's lekker. What the hell is he talking about? So I'll go back to the question that's on your screen. What do you want? What is it? What your reality looks like? Maybe start typing into the chat box. So to understand the impact of the question, we need to understand what we want out of this vehicle to our desired outcome called our business. However, with the majority of my clients I'm seeing lately, they don't know what they want. They haven't realized what they're working towards. And when we unpack it and chunk down, quite often I find that business owners don't understand their own business. So yes, I get that we are, for example, in a legal practice, and we understand that. What I mean is we don't understand the core essence of why our business is here. So let me ask you the question. If everything went 100% your way for the next 10 years, what would that reality look like? So everything has gone really well for you in your business. Everything has gone 100% your way in your personal life, and you put the two together, what does that reality look like? So maybe write down that question on that with that pen on that piece of paper that you have nearby, and you'll be able to see later on, maybe later today or when you have some personal time, that it actually starts flowing quite easy when you start thinking it that way around. Okay. And when you start actually having a look at exactly what you want, you can start seeing that the end in mind is actually really, really cool. And what are the steps that I need to put in place to get there? So I noticed that my notes have disappeared. These things happen, right? So, sure. So in business, maybe our core business and our core purpose of our business is to start with making money. But why do we want to make money? What is the joy in us making that money? So if the joy for you is to just pay bills and die, in my opinion, that's a pretty crappy life plan. So write down on that pen, with that pen and piece of paper, what is your why? Why do you get up and do the things that you do? Maybe it's for self-enrichment. Maybe it's to give your family a better life than what you had. Maybe it's to buy that expensive car that you're looking for. So at the back end of this presentation, I'm going to make everybody on here an offer. So I can help you understand your why as one of the things. Okay. So in a scenario that you know your why, well, then what is your if? If this happens, I'm going to do that. If I win the lotto, I'm going to do this. But what are the things that we can do if we get and we understand our why, and if we get that big deal, if we win the lotto, what would you do? And if you can put that, into clear writing and you have a clear understanding of that, it becomes a lot easier to materialize it. And you know, if you know your why, I'm going to make you an offer around your if. And if you know your if, well, then let's have another chat and I'll make you another offer around that. So what is more fundamentally alarming to me is many businesses don't understand their clients and their needs of the business that we have. So we throw out blanket advertising and we're depressed because we don't get the response that we wanted. Well, I liken that to getting depressed when you throw a bucket of paint against the wall and the wall is not coated perfectly and evenly corner to corner without painting over or splashing over the cornices and onto the carpet, etc. So why don't we have an engineered approach to our marketing? So fundamentally, I see that as being the same thing as marketing, as throwing a can of paint against the wall. So sounds a bit far-fetched or a little bit crazy, but this is what's happening sometimes without us even realizing it. In more cases or in more places sometimes than what we actually realize. So I'm just going to let Sharon in there. So let's think about your team for a second. Let's get this to work. Wow, technology is really playing havoc with me today. So this is on screen is a gent called Tom Peters, and he said most employees are motivated, energetic, enthusiastic, and loyal, except for the 8 hours a day that they work for you. Wow. Sorry guys, I can't seem to see why I can't move on from the screen. Really likes being here, I guess. There we go. There we go, Tom Peters. So I go back to the question of what do you want? So remember, it's not about what your team wants. It's about you as the business owner. What do you want? Okay. The point here is that if you understand what you want, well, be it for the business, maybe out of the business, for me, myself, for my exit strategy, or who here maybe just go me or you know, write into the notes, into the chat box, who here has an exit strategy or a contingency plan? Who has a perfectly written out and sought out retirement plan? So who knows the type of clients that they want to deal with? Who here is dealing with clients, just the clients that they can get? How often that item, how often do I tick things off my bucket list? And how many of us have a rewards list? The rewards list is a thing for the small wins. How many of us here reward ourselves for completing a task? Maybe it's a glass of wine. We see it as a reward at the end of the day. Maybe it's something slightly bigger, like going on that skydiving. Might not be on our bucket list, but it's still something that we want to reward ourselves with. Then we can set effective and realistic goals so that we can achieve those things. So those goals that most people forget are things like, well, what is your profit goal for your business? What is your planned savings goal? What is your investment goal? What is your staff count goal? Learning goals, holiday goals, date night goals. How many of us here that own our own businesses and are married or with somebody have a clear set date night that they can go out and do things? How many of us have set fun goals and so on and so on? There's a magnitude of goals that we forget quite often. So on screen, I have a really, really awesome formula for change, and we can see it's quite a basic one. Some of you might have seen it before. But before I unpack this, and before I pick on somebody in the group chat to decipher it for us, maybe the latecomer Sharon, who here is completely satisfied with his company's performance during lockdown? The other two that said yes in the chat box, well, congratulations. Did you have the time for the things that you enjoyed? Who here saw room for improvement of their performance over lockdown, or maybe leading up to lockdown? Who here is tired of the same excuses as to why they don't have the life they want and work hard day in and day out, maybe even right to lockdown, and still just have enough to cover costs? Maybe some of us own our job. If we think of the acronym for job, it stands for just over broke. And that whole picture that we painted for ourselves around owning our business, we're going to be able to work 3 hours a day and have all these fancy cars and fancy house and things. How many of us woke up to the shock that that's not reality? And often as the business owner, your hours are longer, you earn less than your staff. And you've got to put on this extra effort that you never thought of. So who here is okay money-wise, but doesn't have the time for that Thursday date night with a significant other, or go to your son's rugby or soccer game, or take that 3-week well-deserved holiday? On screen is a very quick and easy formula for change. So instead of picking on someone to go through it, decided to break it down a little bit. So the D on the screen stands for dissatisfaction, for the results I've achieved, or the time that I have to work on things, or the project that we've completed, multiplied by the effective understanding of my vision and what I want, firstly for self and then for my business. Maybe it's you dissatisfied with the position I have within the company. Plus the first steps, like joining us today or taking me up on my offers that we're going to discuss shortly, has to be greater than the resistance to change. Okay, that's what the R stands for. So our subconscious will always look for the path of least resistance, which is why we always return to our old ways. Ever been to a motivational seminar? You spend 3 hours with whoever it is, and you're fired up, ready to make these changes, and something happens, like someone cuts us off in traffic on the way home, and that intent to fix things in our life goes out the window. It's along the lines of, we're going to make this change, and we're not going to get so angry anymore, and this guy gets you really, really pumped up to do that. And life happens and we just forget to make those changes. So what your subconscious is doing is finding the easy route out of that. Same thing could happen with a coaching journey, with a life coach, or with a business coach, or with somebody that's making changes within your business. If somebody's not holding you accountable, how are you going to ensure that those changes happen? So when we begin to make changes, which are sometimes difficult to make, our subconscious will find excuses so that we can go back to our old ways. Our job as coaches, our job as people that do work for others, is to hold them accountable for changes and keep adding to your wins list. Who here has an active wins list where they write down their wins every week, every day? So how happy were you with your company's first quarter in 2020? And let's put some things into the chat box again. So let's take sales and cash flow and those kind of things out of the equation here. And just type your answers into the chat box, and if some come up, I'll read some of them out. What is your top challenge in your business right now? And let's also leave excuses like COVID-19 out of this too, because I'm pretty sure when we drill down, and excuse if it comes a bit harsh, but the cancer you are blaming on COVID-19 probably existed in your business, your sales team, and your sales results way before lockdown. Maybe it was there before even the year ended, and we used the year end as the excuse for not reaching what we wanted to reach. So just as a matter of interest, am I right? Yes or yes? So we put ourselves into a thing that in Action Coach I use quite often, and that yellow dot on your screen is called the point of power. So when we fall below the point of power, we lie in bed, there's the acronym, we lie in bed with blame, excuses, and denial for the performance that we've done within our business. Or then we could steer our ship with the oar of ownership, accountability, and responsibility for improving the performance that we've had within our business over the last while. So from the one or two answers that I've seen that have come up in private messages, there are things we address in the business. There are things that we address in the coaching process. So a quick yes or no in the chat box. Who here has a business plan? See one or two blank faces coming from that. So who here has a business plan and has had a look at that business plan in the last year? Maybe in the last month, or even in the last week. So to put a story behind it, that is like packing your kids in the car, your spouse, maybe a dog, luggage in the car, and we head off on holiday, but without a destination in mind, we travel around the N3 for 3 weeks. Or do we have the actual approach of, well, we have an end goal in mind. We're going to the Kruger Park, we're going to Cape Town, Durban, etc., wherever it might be. So I put it back to you, what is it that you want, and be able to work from there. So when we're below the point of power, we find ourselves powerless, and when we're above the point of power, we find us powerful. So now that we understand what we want, here, let me unpack an interesting scenario. It makes me giggle every time I say it, but it drives the point across quite well. Picture yourself as a 30-year-old woman trying to attract our ideal partner. Now go write down 11 pages, those lined pages, of the traits, looks, quirks, etc. of that ideal partner. For 11 pages, you start finding that you've really got to be specific. So great, so now we get these 11 pages down and we have a very clear set understanding of who we're trying to attract. And the law of attraction says that now we are inviting this perfect person into our space. Mr. Right is going to be, going to come some way or the other. The doorbell rings, we walk to the door, open it, and wow, Mr. Right is standing at the door. So now what? How do we know we are going to be attractive in return to Mr. Right? So it's too late then to go and adjust our looks, put on makeup, lose weight, adjust our hair, etc. We need to be ready for that when that knock comes at the door. So we need to have prepared ourselves in the upcoming months for this meeting. Relate that back to our business. What are the products and services our clients are looking for in us, and can we professionally and effectively handle their requests? What are the 11 products or services we need to add to our company so that our partnership between the service provider and client can be mutually beneficial long-term, and most importantly, a win-win partnership? If it is a win-lose because you've given a discount and you've maybe lost a little bit of money, that is a lose. And if on the next one, you've maybe added a little bit of extra on, that's a lose for the client. So that's a lose situation. How do we make sure that we have a win-win situation each time we do business? So how do we plan to get that? In ActionCOACH, we have a business chassis, not a square peg in a round hole, sort of make-do system, but a system that actually works regardless of the type of business that you have. If you think of the Ford Motor Group, the Ford Ranger and the Ford Falcon are built on the same chassis, but for different purposes. One is more rugged terrain and carrying stuff, and the other is for smoother roads transporting passengers from A to B. Same thing with business. Is your business set up to perform the tasks required to fulfill the client's requests? Are you able to pivot your business in a black swan event like we're going through right now? If the big brother in your industry was irritated enough by the good work that you were doing and wanted to buy your company, how do you ensure you got the maximum out of it when you sold it? How do we plan for the sale of business if that was your exit strategy? So let me ask this, Catherine, you're online. How many opening or how many coaching slots have I got open over the next few days?
Hi everybody. Hi Brendon. You have one session available
coming in
this week.
But I had a quick little look
and
before. There's about 3 slots, and I'd like to offer those 3 slots to people that have joined us here today. Just fill in your name and say me, and I'll offer you those slots. And I'll throw in something special around that as well. So these sessions are worth roughly about 2,500 Rand each. So, so don't be shy, they're available. So let me see if I can help you guys. So as per my holiday analog, we work with this picture that was in our minds, now written down and clearly defined and shared within our team. We need to start with the end in mind. Would you say that if everyone in your team had buy into your goals and your vision of where your company is going to be in 10 years, and you've got all the right people sitting in the right seat, facing in the right direction, that'd be a lot easier for the collective to achieve? In a very quick description of the steps, I'm running a little tad short of time, so I'm going to just run through these steps quite quickly. So if you had to think of your business as a layered cake, and you built that base layer out of jelly, and you wanted to build a 6-layered cake, what would happen when you needed to lean on a pillar in the business? Well, it's quite obvious that the whole business is going to wobble and fall over. So right at the base, we take that jelly-based layer that happens in most businesses, and we turn that layer into a concrete layer that we can comfortably build a business on, and we put into that layered cake 4 main ingredients. Okay, so we call that one mastery because it eliminates the chaos or this jelly that's in our business, and we call that first one destination mastery, the exit strategy, what the owner needs, their vision, personal and business goals. We then look at money, the break-even points, the profits, what the company needs to build excess income for investment. Time mastery. So time mastery is all around effective planning, effective delegation and not abdication from roles. Okay. Time for self, doing those things that feed the business owner's self. Delivery mastery, so quality, supply chain, are my products easy for my client to buy, our service levels. The next thing that we look at is niche. So once we've got the stable business, there's no longer this jelly feeling within the business. Niche is about generating predictable cash flow. Through finding out what our point of difference is in the marketplace, to move away from the price-based selling and the price war, and the old school advertising approach, and we get closer to the value proposition and solution-based marketing programs. This is where we introduce you to the second part of the business chassis we call the 5 ways model, which looks at margin, conversion rates, the upsell, cross-sell, and lifetime value of clients, which are all fed by a clear understanding of target markets and lead generation techniques. So we move up the ladder then to leverage. And leverage is all about efficiency, systemization, systemizing routine and humanizing the difference, organizational charts, and their actual place within the business, knowing that an org chart is not just a snapshot, but it is one of the most effective tools in growing and pivoting our business. The how-to manuals of our business for in case we want to sell our business or in case something goes wrong with us. So somebody that comes in and steps in our seat can take over. What about the management systems? Building the culture we want within the business. There's all these things that we put into play in leverage that creates this commercial, profitable enterprise. And we'll move on just now to find out how this commercial, profitable enterprise can start working without us. But now we go on to work on the business and build the machine that has all the cogs in place so that it grows if we're not there for 24 hours a day. So let me ask this, write down with that piece of paper, what is your definition of an entrepreneur? So my definition is somebody that is lazy and effectively gets other people to run things without them, so that they have the time to go and run a second, third business, go network on the golf course, or go to, like Jill was saying, one of those networking groups around rugby. So we move on to the next one around that, so we can generate the time and build the structure for growth, which is the team. This is where we create, as I was saying, the biggest amount of growth within the business. Creating the strong leader, building the vision within the team so that the entire workforce has a common goal, where we start to get buy-in from the team from the action plan. Remember, 100% inclusion and 100% involvement allows for 100% of improved results. So the next one is synergy. Synergy is where we make sure all the aspects are working and systems are checked. It's the test and measure for procedures, systems, etc. Retraining of teams. We've got another system in ActionCOACH called the 4-way system, which talks exactly around this. So to ensure we achieve the results, which is at the top, with our passive income or subsidiary incomes, to ensure that we achieve the results set all the way out down in the destination mastery, all the way at the beginning of our coaching journey. And this is what drives massive results. So looking at quoting Jim Rohn, one of the people that I take inspiration from, he says, never wish your life were easier, wish that you were better. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job or in your business. And the ActionCOACH founder and chairman, a guy by the name of Brad Sugars, you see on your screen now, says, words can inspire, thoughts can provoke, but only action truly brings you closer to your dreams. So how much will the knowledge we'll teach you be worth to you over the next 5, 10, 15 years of your commercial life? You know, on the note that people have been answering, I'll send out invites, and I have a thing that we do on a Thursday afternoon, valued at about 4,500 Rand, that I'll send everybody an invite to. You're welcome to come and join us on these events. So, coaching Richard Branson, if you can learn to run one business successfully, there's no reason you can't run any number of businesses at the same time. All the principles, i.e. the business chassis for every business, whether you're a multi-million-dollar multinational business or a one-man business, is exactly the same. So now it's time to take action. let us know who's interested. Thanks for everybody that had been sending me the personal notes. I really appreciate them, and thank you for your time. Carolyn, can I hand back to you?
Yes, certainly, Brendon. Thank you so much for all of that. And guys, it's a good process to go through. As I say, you start looking at what you're doing as a true business and being able to manage it on a systems basis. So thank you, Brendon, for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you all for joining us this morning. Just to finish off, we will be sending the presentations out, even though mine and Sandra's was a guesswork for you guys. We will send the presentations out to you. And if you would like any specific section of the videos, please let me know. And thank you for giving up your morning to